What's up, guys? Welcome to A Reseller's Life. My name is Chris. Thank you so much for joining me. In today's episode, I'm really happy to have David Reyes here. He's going to talk to us about sport card collecting. It's probably one of the hottest niches on eBay right now. There's a ton of questions. I'm getting a lot of emails about it. No, it's not a scam. Obviously, it's just selling collectible stuff. So, David, why don't you introduce yourself? How long have you been reselling, and where do you live?
Um, I live in the mean streets of Long Island, New York. Been reselling for a while now. I started actually selling on Amazon. Then I switched over to eBay, garage selling, buying, electronics, going on OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, doing the whole 9 yards. Just got tired of testing stuff, selling it and then it get returned, or maybe I didn't test it properly, or I tested and everything's good and just people just breaking my chops. So after a while, I saw Gary Vee talking about sports cards 2 years ago, before all the hype happened. And I said, I wish I could flip these cards. Guy from Twitter just sends me a direct message and gives me, it was like a love letter of sports cards. It was just gigantic. And it took me forever to read, and I just got hooked. I started asking him questions. He wrote me another diary, and I got amped up. And from there, I just started learning, started going on eBay, checking, learning about cards, because it was completely different from when I started, when I stopped collecting, which was in the early 90s. So it just blew, now it's blown up. But at the time, I was just amazed at all these different changes. So then around January, I couldn't find too many things on people like myself, middle-aged, trying to get back into it. And just people want to ask stupid questions, but they're afraid. So that's where I wanted to have a place to ask you dumb questions, because I ask dumb questions all the time. I did a podcast. I did it from my car. I have a full-time job, so I just did a podcast as I was driving to work.
I love it.
Doing it I do it every single day. And then after a while, I started slacking off a little bit of every day, but I would do it 3 times a week. And that's what I've been doing. Now I got a little more professional because people were complaining a little too much, because you can hear my blinker. You can hear me yelling at cars. You can hear, whatever. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
I love it. So you're selling online. Do you still have a job?
I'm sorry?
Do you still keep a full-time job as well?
Yes. When this COVID business, I don't know if you've heard about it, happened in New York, we couldn't do any. I'm in construction, so nobody was allowed to do anything. So we're now slowly getting back into it. It's actually a little bit going nuts right now. The guy that I was working for was a little bit hesitant, but now we're starting to move forward. So it's going to be good for me for a little while, at least. So I'm happy.
Okay. So this is awesome, because you've done all the things I would normally recommend for people. You heard that sports cards were selling. So what you did was you found someone that already sells sports cards. That's like, I can't tell you how many people don't know. They're like, I want to sell teddy bears. And then that's it. They don't find someone who's killing it in teddy bears and reach out to them. And that's exactly what I did when I started. I didn't know thrifting existed. I Googled thrifting. A whole bunch of these websites popped up. I was like, okay, let me message Steve Rakin. He's like in looking at Blazing Profits. I want to look at Blazers. So I emailed him. I'm like, can you give me how do you do this? Right. So that's really smart. You find the niche, find out who's selling it, get into it. So let's talk about how did you start? Did you start with some extra savings you had? Let's say you had $1,000. How would you get into cards?
If you had, that's before you start buying, you really need to learn. This is not something a lot of people just go into, I'm going to buy cards. And then you go, well, what type of cards? I don't know. I'm just going to buy them and I'll figure it out later. You need to do your research. And I did an interview with Burbank Sports Cards, one of the biggest guys selling sports cards. And the biggest thing he told me was you need to focus. You have to focus on something. And it's true in my life, because right now my eBay store is slacking because I've been focusing more on my podcast. So whatever I've been focusing on, everything else sort of dies off. So I say focus now. When you first start, you should buy a little bit of everything, so you understand the different types of cards, so you get an idea. And then you're going to start drifting towards cards, either basketball, baseball, football. Soccer's now becoming big. I don't know anything about soccer. I can't stand soccer, but people love it.
Mm-hmm.
So you just start there. You start buying stuff. Don't spend a ton of money. Just buy some stuff here and there and see what you like. Once you know that you like it, there's YouTube videos of people breaking boxes, opening up boxes and seeing the cards. So then you'll be able to learn the different types of cards. The biggest thing that has happened that's transformed the hobby is grading. So now people send their cards into a grading company, and it's just the guy who goes in there, he looks, he goes, this looks really good. And it's graded from a 1 to 10 scale. So one guy one day may go, this card's a 10. If it's a 10, it's worth a lot of money.
Right.
Depending on the card, but I'm being very general about it. Whereas back in the day, if you just had a card and you got it in a pack, that was it. There you go. I can sell it for the same amount of money as any other card. And that's just not the case anymore.
I want to talk about a couple of things that you're doing that I noticed right away, because I don't know you. But when you emailed me, I immediately wanted to talk to you for a bunch of reasons. One, you have your own website. Okay, so that is huge. When somebody emails you and they have a website, you already are like, okay, this person took the time to build their own website. It's specifically in a niche. It's SVA card collectors. The website's about sports cards, which is makes sense. You have a podcast related to sports cards. So it makes sense. If you ever want to reach out to a supplier, you can also say you have a built-in audience. And as you build up your brand, they're going to actually want to work with you. This is very, very smart. And it's not David's cards. It's specifically a brand, which makes you look even better, in my opinion. I mean, I've seen card shops like Greg Morris Cards. That's obviously a name. But this is cool. I love the way that you've branded yourself. That's really important, because I feel like you are a card seller, the way that you've branded yourself.
Sort of, yes. Because I started selling. And then what happens, like to me, like I said, focus, I start buying stuff. So now I got a bunch of stuff in there, and you also have the collector in me. So now the stuff, when I was a kid, I start popping up and I start going, oh man, I can afford this card now. So I'm like, I don't want to sell this card now. And the whole point of me getting into this was to buy and sell cards. Now, you asked me about how I got the money. I got the money from all the electronics that I bought. I bought a ton of electronics, and I was doing really well. I'm like buying something for 50, selling it for 500, like stuff like that.
Right.
So I had that money.
Also, you got some brass balls from selling electronics, because it's hard. You're gonna get returns. People are gonna defraud you. It's not an easy category.
No, it's very difficult. I did really well, but I got so burnt out on testing, making sure I had enough cords, the wires. Then I got into video games, making sure you have the right systems for it. I started getting into Commodore 64s. They don't work on like regular flat screen TVs. Right. You have to get a special cord. So I'll be able to do it. I go, I can't. I don't know if this thing works or not. I got to order on eBay, wait a couple of days. Then I'll, and you get lazy. So you're like, all right, I don't want to wait for it. I'll just say it's good. I'll put it, I shouldn't say that. I put in the description, hasn't been tested. I will always do that. I don't lie, because too many headaches. It's too many
you
problems.
might as well just put not tested. Don't say tested, because you're going to get in trouble. And it's important to understand whatever niche you're in. There's electronic sellers that do very well, but it's different. Like, let me give you an example. I remember I timed it. I said it took me like 8 minutes to package a VCR. Somebody sent me a video of them packing a VCR in less than 1 minute. And it blew my mind. I didn't know. I didn't know that was possible. But it's like, he only sells certain he knows how to do it. I was looking at it and I was like, okay, this person is super expert level at just this one category. And you have to do that, because you have to know. They can sometimes plug it in and tell you what's wrong with it before testing it. People that really know. This comes from experience, and I totally recommend people pay attention. Like, sports cards sounds hot. There's a lot of nuances. Grading is huge. And I did not know this. When I started selling cards, I didn't know if you crack open a brand new pack every card's not a 10.
Yep.
I made
You're right.
that mistake. So the first time I sent in a PSA order, I'm like, this is so easy. You're the 200 10s, right? And I got them back. I had some graded like 7,
Yep.
brand new out of the package. And I'm like, how is that possible? Then they emailed me back and they said, you've obviously never done this before. You need to use a high powered light when
Yeah.
before you send it in. That's going to save you a ton of money because you're not going to send in 7s to get graded.
Yeah, they have special. Now I don't use this stuff, but you should. There's like a loop that you
Yep,
can
there's
look
a
at
loop.
cards, and you can see all the little. There may be
Mhm.
some little imperfections that you don't know, that you don't see.
Yep.
It's helpful, and if you don't have all that stuff, and if you do exactly what you just did, you're going to get creamed because you're spending PSAs. If you just do it on your own, you'll be spending like maybe 12 to 15 bucks per
That's right.
card. Now, if
Right.
you're sending 100 of them and
Right.
then
It
you
goes
come
down,
back and
but
maybe you
not
get,
really less than 7. Yeah. At the,
well,
like the
no,
highest
on newer
ones.
cards, you shouldn't
Yeah.
be getting a PSA 7, but no one's going to buy them. Nobody wants a PSA 7, PSA 8 on newer cards.
Yeah. And
So,
I also feel like, guys, I think that people are going to be spending more time at home for probably the next 5 years. Some people don't feel comfortable going outside, whatever, if you believe it or whatever the hysteria is, you have to believe that people are going to be spending more time at home. There's going to be
100%.
less sports. I mean, right now, baseball trading is replaced sports. There's no sports going on right now. Of course, the market is super hot. It's not like people stopped caring about sports.
No,
They're just now they're in this because it's just something to do.
I'll tell you, sorry, I'll tell you what happened. You had basketball, baseball, football stop. Football wasn't going on, but basketball and baseball just didn't start. Where cards tend to trend up is preseason and the run up to it, because people have hope. They have dreams. They're like, oh, they're going to be amazing. They're going to do great. And so the prices will start going up. I'm a gigantic Jets fan, New York Jets football. Every year I go, we're going to make it to the playoffs this year. And we know damn well they're only going to win 2 games. So we get all excited and everyone starts buying up all their cards and buying up all like who they think is going to do really well. But now you don't have games. So there's just continue this hope and this buildup. And now you have no gambling. You have no draft, people playing fantasy sports. So all this money went in. And that's exactly what happened, because it is crazy. No one, any dealer or anybody that you talk to in sports cards said this is the greatest time in the history of sports cards right now. Will that last? I think we're going to be in a big bubble.
I think so too.
Yeah, but I think what's going to happen, it's going to be the end of the year. I think once the seasons are over, it's going to pop. But that doesn't mean you can't learn and you can't make a lot of money right now. And you can buy, if you're knowledgeable and you have enough, money, if you're able to store some money, making money right now, you can buy when prices are really low. And then eventually the prices are going to go back up. And what are you going to do? You're going to start selling. You could, make some good money.
I 100% agree with you. Also, sealed packages of like the boxes, those sell really well. I had an opportunity to buy a whole bunch of Allen Ginter cards that were still sealed in the cases. And I'm relatively busy, so I didn't look at them for like a year, and they went up like 40% without me doing anything. So
Yep.
without even opening them. And so then you think, okay, should you just sit on unopened cards? That's risky. You got to think about, you just got to play the game. I think it's important not to do just a few.
If you're like you're more of a flipper. You're not a collector. You really could
That's
care
right.
less.
Right.
You don't know who the guys are. You just
Right.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that. Me, I would love to be able to look at a box of cards and not open them, but they're going to be opened by me. I don't have the huevos to do it.
I got you.
But it's the smartest thing to do is not to open these boxes, because especially now the prices they're overpriced. I would say you shouldn't buy boxes right now because they're just too overpriced. It's like maybe double from what it was last year. And there's really nothing special outside of basketball, because you have Zion Williamson. Zion is a monster of his own, and he's basically, making basketball cards like the hype go insane.
That's right.
Him and Morant, but it's really Zion. That's what it's
Right.
all about right now.
I love it. It's amazing how one person can make a whole thing trend.
It's crazy. No, it really is. And you know what? You can go back in the day, and you'll have, like, especially in the crappier years of sports cards, you'll have one guy whose card is worth a lot of money, and that's the only reason why people buy this box. So people will tear up all the boxes, and they'll have just looking for this one card.
Wow.
You know, it is what it is. But this year is just insane. This year with basketball, especially.
So let me ask you something. When I was flipping Pokemon cards, I actually love Pokemon. So for me, I opened every single box that I bought when I graded those cards. Now, I would go to Target with a jewelry scale because I heard this on that holographic cards are heavier. So I went to Target. I asked the manager, "Hey, do you mind if I'm doing?" Because I was there for a couple of hours. I went to every Target and weighed, and every card I was just home running every singles because they're slightly heavier.
Mm-hmm.
So the more valuable question, I would basically just buy the one single that was valuable, leave the 19 that weren't there, and that was awesome. So I think are sports cards like that?
If you want to get punched in the face, yeah. if there was like, see, Pokemon collectors aren't crazy. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
There's a bunch of, like, right now, the way it is you have a bunch of old men like me standing around looking ridiculous, waiting for the sports card to come out. And they'll push over an 8-year-old. They don't care. You know, they'll forearm shiv a 7-year-old trying to get some cards. They don't care. Some of the times they don't even get out. They make deals with managers. Mm-hmm. If anyone's ever caught pack searching or weighing like you were, woo boy, they take pictures, they take videos, and they post it on the thing, and they'll call them out.
Right.
I don't think you're gonna have that on Pokemon. But
probably not. No,
but now you may have some crazy Pokemon guy, follow you. But
no, I mean, it depends. I'm sure it depends on what cards. In certain circles, I'm sure you would get banned at certain stores. But I mean, it just depends. And it always made me wonder, like, why aren't the sports stores and why aren't they doing that before they open? Just so people never find the goods.
Some people do, but do you want to buy from a store that does that and you never get the good stuff? Why would you keep buying from them? You have a reputation. I mean, you could be a dealer and go, man, I haven't gotten anything from this guy.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Meanwhile, he's in the back, he's got scales, and he's like, I don't know. It's just happens to be. It's bad. You can't do that.
So is the terminology also called a booster box for sports cards? What's the terminology for a case of cards?
Case of cards. You have a hobby box, which is where you go to a card store. A jumbo box where you get more autographed cards. They're called hits in a box, and plus you get more cards. You have blaster boxes, which are those $20 boxes that you weigh at Target and Walmart. Those are the ones that are in there. They also have like loose packs. And what else do you have in there? You have mega boxes, but those are also in Target and Walmart. They're just bigger blaster boxes. They have the packs, the cello packs that have 3 packs within a pack. That's pretty much it for the most part. I'm sure there might be another one I might be missing, but I think that's pretty much it. But right now, I would say if you can find them, the best buy is going to Target, Walmart. But it's very difficult to find because everyone's trying to buy to resell on eBay.
So I'm going to give you guys a tip. So everyone smash the like button. And David, before I get into my tip, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
You can hit me up. My podcast is SVA Card Collectors. It's on Apple. It's on everything that you can possibly find. Just hit the Google. And you can also svacardcollectors.com, and also have a Facebook group. So if you want to learn more and you have a lot of questions, you want to ask those dumb questions where you don't want, people who break your balls, go over there and we'll answer them, and then we'll snicker and behind, but we're not going to do it in front of you.
So what happened was when I was buying these Pokemon cards at Target, I was thinking to myself, let me look for a distributor, and I found one called Potomac Distribution. Mm-hmm. And you need a resale license if you don't want to pay tax, but you can find distributors of baseball cards or sports cards if you just take your time and look through the different sites. Some of them are going to require a minimum order, but that's okay. As soon as you got to get into it, it is always about, who can buy the most, usually at the highest, but I think it's kind of interesting. I think if I wanted to sell sports cards, I would need to find 5 or 10 sellers who already do it. I would stock their stores and try to get an idea of where they're getting it before I started, because I feel like $1,000 is not going to get you that far. You need a little bit more money to
Now,
play this
I
game.
mean, when you're talking about $1,000, you're just going to be buying single cards. You could be buying graded cards. You're going to
Mhm.
buy raw cards, which are not graded, and you're going to look on eBay. And I have articles on that, like how do you find raw cards on eBay? The best way to do it. You'll never be 100%, but you get them, raw. You spend a lot less. Then you send the PSA, you get them graded, and you're looking to double or triple your money. So stuff like that is where you want to do. For $1,000, that's, you're not going to buy any boxes because you're just gambling. The biggest thing right now is case breaking. I don't know if you know what that is. Basically, a guy buys a case and he'll go, all right, I'm selling each team at a certain amount of money. It's pure gamble. So just say, I just want all New York Yankee cards, or you want New York Giants. I'm sorry, I'm from New York. Whatever. You go, all right, I'm going to spend 150, and whatever New York Yankee comes out of this case, I get. Pure gambling. Those are the guys that get all the cases. And that's the biggest thing. You can find distributors and wholesalers, but they ain't going to sell to you because you have to have a massive amounts of money. These guys are doing, the big guys are doing 60, 70 cases a release, and each case is $2,000. Think
Gotcha.
about how much money you need to have.
Yeah.
And they're pre-buying it 6 months in advance.
Right.
So you really have to have your boys together. You need 5 boys that got some money, and then you'll be able to do it. Sometimes you even need a store like Tops. If you want to buy from Tops, you have to have your own physical store.
Got it.
But people do it. People start small. They buy. Everyone wants to be a case breaker or a box breaker because it's fun. Yep. And people can make
it's
fun.
Really fun.
Yeah, I could watch it all day, and that's a problem because I got my wife and my kids, and they're looking at me like, "What are you doing? You're embarrassing us. You're embarrassing the family."
I mean, it is fun cracking open a box, looking through thousands of cards, and especially if you're into that sport. The only sport I could really do it in is maybe basketball, but it's like I love the idea of combining that with social media, because you guys know that if you have a podcast, if you have a YouTube channel, you can make okay money with the affiliate. It can at least fund your hobby. So you're in a situation where, since you have another income, how do you manage the profit? Do you invest some and save some? What do you do with the profits from sports cards?
I basically reinvest everything. So I don't make that much money on the podcast. Actually, my website is actually growing to actually start monetizing a little bit more. But that I'm sort of just putting back into, doing stuff. I'm going to start trying to write more articles. Maybe I'll have a VA to start writing more articles for me to, draw traffic up on that end. But yeah, I just use it. I used to use it to buy boxes to open up so people can look at it, on as content. But it became so expensive that I just will buy the cards that I like and just reinvest it into, this podcast, getting better equipment and stuff like that.
Okay, so let's talk about how you would research solds. So let's say you buy 100 cards. What's the efficient way to look through solds? Are you looking for, how do you look through, if you're doing it purely from a flipper point of view, do you individually look up every single sold, or are there guides that show you which cards are the most valuable? How do you do it?
eBay is the best way to do it. If you're starting out, eBay is where you need to go. And you just literally, if you find a set that you like or find a player that you like, you can look it up on the Google. You just put the guy's name in. Rookie cards are the ones that people want to collect. So if you're doing baseball, it's the set is Bowman, and you're looking for first Bowman cards. If it's basketball, you're looking at Prism. Those are the ones. And football, same thing, Prism. And then you have other offshoots that that people buy as well, but those are the main ones. I'm being very general because I know I don't want to nerd out on you.
Do you feel like you should be a person that works with graded cards or non-graded?
The problem is the cost. depending on the player that you want, let's just say you like Zion,
Right.
you're going to be buying a raw card because it's $200 for his
Right.
rookie card. To 700 to 800 for his base, like, which is like just a regular card you get in a pack. And then the
Mm-hmm.
special cards, they're called silver and they have a little shimmer to it. Those go for $2,000.
Mm.
So in PSA 10. So you sort of, when you're starting out, you don't want to dole out all that cash. So you may buy graded cards of lower end guys. Maybe there's rookies that you like of a team, like the Knicks have Mitchell Robinson that I like. I'll buy his PSA 10 because I can afford it because it was like $50 at the time, $60. It just all depends. Raw, you can buy raw cards. It's especially on eBay. There's other websites. Star Stock is one website. Comp is one website. There's a bunch out there. But to check the solds, to do your research, go on eBay. That's where everything's happening right now.
What do you think about card recyclers? If there's stuff that you buy a big case, and do you send in the remaining cards that are not gradable or sellable raw to a card recycler and get some cash back? Or how do you handle when you break a case?
I've only broken one case.
Okay.
And they are still all underneath my bed.
Mm.
and that's the thing. And that's one of the big things when I spoke to Burbank Sports Cards. I said, I have 2,000 cards. How am I supposed to take a picture, do the description, and post it? Like, I'll be here forever. I'm never going to do it. I'll do 10 of them and I'm going to get tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they just said, well, we have a scanner. Just throw it in the scanner. And then they said, well, will it damage the card? No. We do it. We sell 2 million cards. So if it's good enough for him, I may go that route. And so that's one way to do it. Some people just say, hey, I got a huge, they figure how many cards can fit in a postage box.
Right.
And say $20, $25. You want it? Take it. And that's how some people do it. Some people sell each individual card and they'll do like 10 cards for $2 and free shipping, which will be they will sell in a plain white envelope. So if you see PWE, that's plain white envelope. The only thing is if people don't get it, but you may deal with it from now and then, but there's a lot of people that do it. People send like 500 and maybe they get 1 or 2 where that happens.
I've never heard that term before. Plain white envelope. I like it.
PWE.
So let's talk about how people are able to list thousands of cards. You reached out to large card shops and some of them have 500,000 listings. So you probably asked, how do you do that? What did you find out?
The scanner. He scans all his cards. He's got 8 to 10 people and that's all they do is list all day. When you have 2 million cards, the hardest thing is taking the pictures of everything, the front and the back. So that's all they did. They scanned it and that's how they're able to do it. And most of the time with baseball cards, just like anything else, you can, sell similar. And so most of the information, not all of it, but if you're using your own stuff, you'll know that it's pretty good. Because a lot of times you're selling the same stuff. Obviously you have new products and you're going to have to create your own thing. But once you do it, it's the same thing. So I can't tell you how many times I sold the same card, like 5 or 6 times. I get another card, I sell it. I just use the same listing.
Do cards have a SKU, or are you just looking up the player and the brand?
I didn't get in depth on that because the owner that's not what the interview was about. But no, there's no SKU. There's only SKUs on the box, on the hobby box, but I don't know of anyone using a SKU. I would say no. Unless you do your own, you create your own system on that, but that's something that I don't know about.
Okay. So I'm trying to think here because now I'm looking at reselling like portfolio game. I like to put some money in this and some money in that, and the ones that just go up and that have a chance to go up in value, like baseball cards, basketball cards, Pokemon cards. I love it because for me, I love unboxing a case. It's probably I'm sure it's the equivalent of a hit of cocaine because it's insane. Because you're looking at thousands of cards in a few, and it's like a good 4-hour awesome thing that you do. So I can imagine, you keep a box for 4 or 5 years and get a glass of wine and knock it out. That would just be very enjoyable.
It is. No, it's awesome. I got somebody was from California, and he was actually a big time podcaster,
Mm-hmm.
and we became friends because I started helping him out with cards.
Mm-hmm.
We met in New York right before the pandemic, and what did we do? We bought a box of cards. We went back and opened it in his room, and then I bounced. So I told my wife, well, I just went back to some guy's room in the hotel, and all we did was just open up box, and it was awesome. We just opened up boxes of cards, and it was just, it's just fun. I love it.
That's
I didn't
great.
think, I can't imagine. For me, like back in the day to now, like, well, yeah, I just opened up a box of cards, and it's just as good as it was when I was a kid. Actually, I couldn't afford a box of cards. Like I would just go buy packs. I never bought just a whole box of cards.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's, you just buy the whole box, and that's that.
I want to address a question in the chat, and this is pretty this is a pretty common question. When I go thrifting, I always see cards,
Mm-hmm.
always, and even sealed cards. So I know they definitely overproduced in the 80s and 90s. How do people quickly look it up if they see cards in the thrift? Because they're always there. Is someone going to get lucky, or is the majority of this stuff garbage?
There has been me English. There have been times where yes, that has happened. There was one person in particular. They got like a LeBron James like special card that was like tens of thousands of dollars. But for the most part, you're probably going to get 87 to 92, and that's the junk wax era. And what you can do is on the back of the card, on the bottom, you'll see it'll tell you the year and the make. It'll be top. Back in the day, there was a lot more. So you had Topps, Donruss, Score, Fleer. So you'll see that. Those cards, they're only worth something if the grade is perfect, and it's a rookie card, and it's got to be somebody that's. And I'm trying to think, but even back then, it's not. Those cards really, they're really not going for much. You just. If it's cheap enough, you may just want to get it and just check it at home. And if it's not killing you, if it's $5, you may just be throwing it away, but you may hit something. But I would say for the most part, you're going to get crap.
Yeah, me too. But that's not to say that you shouldn't look it up. It's just,
No.
it's one of those things where look it up in the store if you can. That way
Yeah,
you don't
I'm
have to pick
saying
stuff
if you
on.
get like sometimes you get stuff like cards, it's like a whole bunch. If you have a couple of packs here and there, for sure, just look them up on eBay. Same way you would, check anything else.
I bought 2,500 comic books for $100 at Salvation Army, and so the boxes were out. They just brought them out. I looked at the first one. I looked it up. It was $100. The next one, $100, and they were asking $100 for the whole thing. So I thought I just found one of those amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought it, went home, and the whole lot was only worth maybe 500. Only the first couple were worth something. Then the rest were garbage. So this takes some time to learn.
Yeah, no, it's not. I thought I would be able to go back into it, and that's why I started a podcast, because I said I thought I'd be able to go back into it. I know cards. I remember the guys. I'm good, and I didn't have a clue. And I didn't. There's forums that you can go to that people really nerd out, where they know like there's certain cards that have certain print defects, so they're harder to get graded, and so you got to be careful of that. There's a lot of things that are involved, and then there's a whole different. There's a niche to the niche. You have vintage cards, which are back in this early 70s, I guess 70s, 60s, and 50s. That's a different beast altogether, where you have one grade, like a PSA 5, and there'll be a difference of a price from 200 to 500 just based off centering and the color of the card. So there's another thing that you would have to learn about that. So there's a lot of cool stuff. Like now I'm into 90s inserts. So like when I was a kid, I liked my favorite guy is Don Mattingly, but this was a little bit after. So you have Ken Griffey Jr., Derek Jeter, A-Rod, Barry Bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have these inserts that were really hard for me to get back in the day, and they were too expensive. Now I can afford them, but so that's what I get into, and they're all shiny and bright, and I love it. So now that's what I'm buying, and since there's not too many of them graded, I'm thinking that Barry Bonds is going to the Hall of Fame eventually. A-Rod's going to go to the Hall of Fame. So I'm getting these really cards that are hard to get in good condition because they were printed, in the 90s where the printing wasn't that great. Plus, it's been a long time, so people nick them up. And I'm going to get them graded, and hopefully, if they grade well, when they go into the Hall of Fame, the price will be up. So that's what I'm doing.
Let me ask, what is your opinion on PSA versus Beckett versus SGC for grading? Do you have a preference? Do you feel like some bring more value?
PSA brings the most value and is typically the cheapest. BGS just is a little bit more money, but they're a little bit quicker with their with their times.
Yep.
SGC is awesome at vintage.
Mm.
They are starting to get better they're starting to become a bigger player in modern cards. But right now, but PSA, you get the most value. They do. Now there's a PSA 10, and then you'll see a BGS, which is Beckett 10, and it's in the black label. Those go for like double what a PSA 10 goes for.
Right.
But it is so rare to get that I would, most of the time they have a 9.5. PSA doesn't have it. PSA goes from 9 to 10. So if you have a borderline card of 9 and 10, send it to PSA, because if it's a 10, it's going to be worth a lot more than a Beckett 9.5. And so that's what you have to weigh. But yeah, that's where it is. And you'll see Gem Mint. You'll see other grading cards on there.
That's right.
Nobody cares about them right now.
Gotcha.
It's like buying a raw card. It's the same price.
So do you feel, for me, if I was going to advise somebody on how to do sports cards, I would say be patient. I don't feel like it's a quick flip. I feel like the card collectors I knew that do well, they're in there for the long haul. Like this is one of those things that I feel like is enjoyable. You can do it because you love it, not just, because even though I don't know anything about baseball, I still feel like I would enjoy looking through them.
Yeah, no, and you have eBay, but you can also buy cards on Facebook. You can buy cards on Instagram. So there's people, and I did an interview with a buddy of mine who's a big Facebook flipper, and he buys stuff on Facebook and he resells it on Facebook. And especially like basketball, you're 100% right that it's typically a longer term, like months. Now it's weeks right now. This card price is that he bought a card for $450 that Zion Williamson, and went down for no reason at all. It just started going down, and then it went back up to $700-800. So if you bought it at $450, 3 weeks later, you just doubled your money. That is rare. We're in a rare time that this is happening like that. But for the most part, I would say it goes with the season. So if a baseball player, you think a baseball player is going to have a good season, and you buy him, in the wintertime, like I would tell you, if you're buying baseball, buy it in the wintertime, December. That's the time to buy it. So when the run-up comes in February, when, spring training and all the hype is happening, your price is going to go back up. And if they do well, the prices continue to go up. If he does bad, prices drop. And that's it. There may be other things to it, but that's the crux of everything.
I guess it took me 7 weeks to get my cards back from PSA, and I think I spent $700 on cards. I spent $1,600 for grading. I think it sold for maybe $8,000. It took only 2 days to go through all those cases that I bought, and it was exhilarating. When I first started 10K on the Bay, I thought it was going to be 10K cards.
Really?
But then when I went thrifting, I got confused because I'm like, wow, there's a million categories to sell in. So yes. I just want people to know that are listening right now, you don't have to diversify. You can just pick one category and in anything. It can be electronics, it could be sports cards. I think it's easy to get trapped into trying too many things. And that's why that guy told you to focus, because it's so easy to just see profit and chase it. And that's not how I think this works.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to sell before baseball cards. I was selling clothes, that was the rake in profit. I'm gonna blame him for that. So I thought I could sell everything. So I started looking just for the name brands, and I didn't know anything about it. And that's the worst thing to do. I see this name brand that he said to buy. I'm gonna go buy it. The dumbest thing in the world to do, because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know why people were buying it. I just saw a name, and I saw it in Goodwill. And so I did it, and I'm, 4-ounce shimmering people. I see the ladies fiddling through. So now I start fiddling through.
Right.
Yeah, I'm done with that. You know what? I shouldn't say that. I will go into a Goodwill and I will buy something to flip. I still do it, but that's more for fun.
I 100% hear you. I love thrifting for fun.
Yeah.
And I noticed this. I went thrifting with some really high end sellers, and a lady found a mantle clock. She was like, "This will sell for 300." She just gave it to me. She's got her business of whatever she's got going with selling. That's her bread and butter. When she
Mhm.
goes thrifting, it's just she doesn't spoil the thrill of the hunt with only the profit part. I think it ruins it when people have to get 100 items to make a living at the thrift store. It makes thrifting suck. It's not fun when you have to make a squeeze profit out of that. That's not what it's meant to be, in my opinion.
I've been chasing exactly what you actually found. Like replenishables was the thing I was always
Yeah.
looking for. I always thought there was some magic potion or this magic thing where you go, all right, here's the replenishable room. Go in there.
Hmm.
That's where they're at. Everyone's there, and everybody's like, Dave, all right, we're finally here. You can start
Yep.
selling.
Yep.
And it doesn't. There's no room. I look for the room. I can't find it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why
Well,
I'm selling baseball cards.
Well, I will tell you that the room, you will find the room. It just takes a while. So in it's the same with clothing. I'll give you an example. I saw Steve Rakin. I started looking at it. I was like, okay, this is really hard because I don't understand suits. Blazing Profits was huge. So I started reaching out to people. I found the gentleman and I'm like, can I go thrifting with you? So we went to 8 stores. He only came home with 4 blazers. So I was like, okay, wow, this is intense because I just spent 4 hours with you. You know what you're doing. He's one of the people that he can feel it. Okay, this is what this material is. This is made in USA. He knows everything, right?
Well, yeah.
His store is a $500,000 gross, maybe like 80K net, all blazers, right? So it made me realize, okay, this is insane. So I'm like, okay, this is what he makes 500K gross just from selling blazers. He can feel it. Very picky. If it's not $100 profit, he leaves it behind because this is why it takes 15 minutes to list one item.
Yeah.
It's difficult. 10 measurements. The photos have got to be perfect. It's a different thing, right? So then you think, okay, this guy put the time in to get it. But this is the part I'm getting to because this is the room. After doing that for so many years, now he's included in those sample sales when Saks Fifth Avenue or Bloomingdale's, when they throw their sale out and they send their list out, come buy our clearance, he's on that email list. From being in that industry, he figured out where those liquidations go and closeouts go. He is invited to the room. So it does exist. It
I,
just,
I just haven't
yeah,
found
right.
it.
But I'm positive there are rooms like that for cards. There
Oh
are.
no, there are. I
There are.
mean,
Yeah.
it 100% there is,
Yeah.
and maybe I get a peek now and then. I don't know. Maybe, and I don't even know it's the room. I just go in there. I go, they don't know what they're talking about. So
Yeah.
I'm sure, but I'm just having a ton of fun doing it. It's now that I have my son. Hopefully he likes it. He's he's a baby still, so
Yeah.
but that would be fun to do. But
I want to go back to reputation for a moment. Your website is awesome. I love when people take the time to actually build that out. That makes me super happy. I want to give you another example of the room. I've been going to this Gucci outlet for a while to buy stuff, but my orders are a lot smaller. Until you start ordering more than 20,000, you don't get any kind of special treatment. And I don't know enough about Gucci to invest that much. So I'm in the lower bracket. So it's by appointment only. I go after the heavy hitters are already done. Okay, so
mhm,
it's been kind of picked through, but there's still scraps. Now, this is the thing. I got lucky and I looked at one of these ladies that was in the top tier of the Gucci buying. She spent 75 grand and none of it was going to be sold in the United States. That was her key thing because they love it because they don't want to flood their own market on eBay. They want that stuff off the online sites. That's
mhm.
why when you go to the outlet, they're like, you can only buy 2 or 3 things. They don't want you reselling. So I thought it was cool because you can arbitrage stuff country to country. It's just all about your reputation. When people know what you do, it's awesome. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
no, I that it's a big deal in the sports car because
Yeah,
you do something wrong.
that's
For
right.
example, there's these new cards that came out, Topps Project 2020,
Right.
and they've been each day, Monday through Friday, there's cards that come out. There was big hype. I totally missed it. I came in when the bubble was bursting and I got hit bad, and I told people and I felt bad because I was like, I should have told you guys before because you could have made money. So people were selling pre-sale. So the prices, you can buy the card for $20. They were selling for 150, 200 sometimes. And then this card came out, the Ken Griffey Jr. Shore card, and there was 99,000 were made. Everything dropped. So people started saying, my kid hit this button. I want to return it because of X, Y, and Z, because they still haven't even, Topps didn't send it to the seller to even send it to the person who bought it, the end user. So people were canceling left and right. And all these people that canceled in the Topps Project 2020 Facebook group going, block this guy, these guys are no good because they didn't live up to it. Now I lived up to it and I took it right up the you know what. So I was actually fortunate, a seller, all of a sudden I got 5 cards. And I said, you made a mistake. I only bought this one card. And he said, you didn't complain. I'm trying to be a good seller. I gave you 5 cards. And basically it was like the same amount of what I spent. So now that's an awesome seller. And I'm going to remember that. And I tell people that all the time to do those things. But B, your reputation, if you do the right thing, karma and whatever is going to shine a light on you. That's what I believe.
This is what I want to get. So I always like to figure out the best thing I like from the interview. And I got it already with you. It's okay, which is the how do we focus? Because someone just asked in the chat, how do you get the 10 by 10 by 10 replenishables? And the answer is you get one replenishable first. You can't get all 10 at the same time. You got to start with one thing, figure it out, then move to the second one. It's not something that you can work on all 10 at the same time. You can't do baseball, basketball, hockey, golf all at the same time. There's not enough time. So let's say you got to start over. And I said, Dave, you can only sell sports cards. Which one do you pick and how do you go about it?
I would start buying.
What does it say? What sport?
Baseball. I know baseball better than I like basketball, and I try to get it involved, but my brain is not so good with the memory. I know baseball a lot better.
Okay, this is good because you pick the one you know the most about, maybe like the most. I like that because I can tell you for sure you can make a living in baseball or basketball.
Yeah.
As long as you just, but maybe not both if you split your attention in the beginning.
My focus would be on buying rookie cards, ungraded, raw cards, buying the cheapest cards I could and buying a lot of them. And if I'm looking for a flipping aspect, I'm not talking about collecting, purely flipping. That's what I'm going after. Or buying the same card in a PSA 10 if it's not a big time rookie. I wouldn't go after the big guys. I would go after the cheaper guys because I can get more of them. And then I would be able to, if they do well, and spread it out, be able to spread, buy 10 of, if you have the top 10 prospects, buy 10 of each. And there's certain ways to go about it. There's a lot of good, places that you can go to find out about the prospects, which is another thing. It's very risky. But I would be buying rookie cards, like guys who are already in the majors, and buying their rookie cards and try to buy them as cheap as possible, and buying a lot of them. The more you buy, the better deal you're going to get. So just buy them, grade it, and keep grading. If you grade every single month, you have a fresh inventory of cards that are coming in. Some people grade one time and that's it. And then they go, all right, well, I sold them. I'm good enough. I got to wait another 3 months. If you do it every single month and you grade and you grade, you're going to have a whole year worth of cards. And each month they're going to be coming in. And so you'll have that inventory. So that's what I would do.
That is like great advice because you have essentially, you're telling people to not just don't get too swamped on getting only the huge home runs because those are hard and very competitive. You kind of need to go for a lower tier and mid tier group to start with, and you want to get the reps in. You want to get
Yeah,
some larger volume.
you'll eventually you'll know the guys to buy. You'll know when to buy. You know, you'll be able to figure that out. So then you'll be able to buy those bigger cards. I know a lot of people who just got in. They had a lot of money and they spent $800 on Patrick Mahomes, which is the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, his rookie cards. So they spent $600. Now the card's worth $4,000, so they look like heroes. If you don't have $600 to spend, or $800 or $1,000 to spend, you can't do it. So what do? You buy the cheaper cards. You buy a different set that may not be as expensive, but still can do well. And so you'll have like the Panini Prism, but then there's other ones like Panini Select or Donruss Optic. And I'm throwing, companies out there. I don't know if your audience even knows about it, but those lower tier ones, percentage wise, they'll move just like the top one. It just will be at a lower price point. That's all.
Have you seen the opposite happen where somebody buys a card and then it tanks in value?
Yes, constantly. Happens all the time. It happens all the time. You'll have a hyped play. You have guys, Lewis Robert. There's the cards now are manufactured rare. So now you can get a autograph of someone to 50 and it'll be a gold card. To 25 is an orange card. And each color signifies how many they made. So you have a card, one of this guy, Lewis Robert, that sold for $50,000. Guy hasn't played one inning in Major League Baseball. Not one inning. And his card sold for $50,000. Yes, there's only one of them. But again, he can come out there and stink. Maybe he goes out there and is just an average baseball player.
I got you.
That card is going to tank. And there's a lot of cards like that. People buy autographs all the time. $1,000 graded PSA 10 of a player who, hasn't played an inning in majors. They played AA. They haven't even played AAA.
This is so fascinating to me because to me, a baseball card doesn't really have any value. It's just what people assign the value to the card is. It's like the stock market. It's not like a water bottle, right? You can at least fill it with water if you don't sell it. A baseball card, you mean it's like not even good toilet paper. It's nothing. It's literally a piece of paper.
It's an Amazon box. You cut it up and draw pictures on it. Maybe someone will buy it. I don't know. But
that's crazy.
But yeah, it's the truth. But it's massive right now.
What would you like your card store to look like in a year?
I don't know. I do know. I shouldn't say I do know. I would like it to be graded cards, more expensive cards, and less. I have 70 cards, and to be honest with you, I can't even tell you what's on there because I'll get in modes to sell, and I'll have like a week where I post a bunch of cards and I sell cards pretty quickly. Just because of the eBay store, once you start playing around with it, all of a sudden it goes, all right, I'll put you up the top. And if you post each day, from what I noticed, all of a sudden people start buying my cards. But I would buy more expensive cards, graded cards, and a lot less because it's easier for me. Because if this was my main gig, it's a different story, but it's not. So time is my issue. And with everything, podcasting and everything like that, I don't have that focus on selling cards as much.
So last question for you. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me. How do you balance your life? Is it how do you structure your day? You've got family, you've got kids, you've got a job. What does your day look like?
Poorly. What I do is I gotta watch. My wife works part-time at home, so I watch the kids. I have 3 kids, 8-year-old, 4, and 10 months old.
Wow.
So from like 7 to 1, I'm there. But my wife is doing this, she's working too. But she's also she's making stuff. So I'm half doing it, half trying to tweet, hey, look at this card, and pretending I know what's going on about sports cards. But like at 1 o'clock after that, I work because I'm still part-time because there's not too much going on right now. And usually midnight, I'll do my podcast. That's when I do my stuff. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock is when because I'm a night owl. I can just stay up late. I don't sleep too much.
What time do you have to get up for work?
It's when my kids wake up. Because I'm not on that. Where I used to be was I'd wake up like at 8. I have my own schedule for work, so it actually worked out really well where I would bring my daughter to school, then I would hit a job site. I did work at home, so I was able to structure myself. But before that, it was 9 to 5, and then I would do the podcast driving home, and I would go, late at night. I would post cards or try to sell or do whatever. So I don't have it's hard to have. I have somewhat of a set schedule, but kids sometimes throw a curveball in that set schedule because they don't
Your kids are
care.
young too.
Yeah, no, they don't care. They give two craps.
Yeah,
So
no, that's very inspiring. You got a beautiful family. You got this awesome side hustle going. I love the way that you present yourself. So I put your information in the chat, everyone. Go follow David's podcast and go to his website. Maybe shoot him an email if you guys want to reach out. I recommend you do exactly what he told you to do in this video, which is like try to focus the best you can, diversify your money a little bit, try to play this a little bit long term. Don't put all your money in one card. That's way too risky.
yeah, especially if you're just starting out, because if you win it, it's just luck, just dumb luck.
That's right. So definitely put the reps in. Thanks, guys. David, any other final thoughts?
That's it, man. Thank you very much for having me.
You got it. Thanks, everybody. Until next time, make progress daily.